Alright, what's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? We're showing you the Commander Precon deck, also known as Mind Seas, which the face of the deck is Jeleva, Nephalia, Scourge, which is like Grixis General, blue, black, red. A lot of you probably have experience with the deck, maybe some of you don't, so let's look it over. The face of the deck is Jeleva, and she's a legendary creature, vampire wizard, 1/3 flyer. Whenever Jeleva, Nephalia, Scourge enters the battlefield, each player exils the top X cards of his or her library, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast her. So, what's the deal with that? So, if you know in Commander, every time your general gets cast from the command zone, they cost 2 more mana to spend. 2 more mana to cast each time. So, on the first time you cast Jeleva from the command zone, it costs 4 in total compared to mana cost. The next time they cost 6, and that's happening. And the time after that, 8, and then 10, etc. So, as Jeleva gets more expensive to cast, her ability gets more powerful because she's exiling more and more cards, and you're going to hit more and more targets that are nice and juicy. So, that is one of the themes of the new Commander product, and it's kind of nice. And it actually works really nicely with this card because people do kill it, and sometimes they don't. It kind of gives them this conundrum of like, should I kill the card or should I not kill the card? So, and whenever Jeleva attacks, you may cast an instant or sorcery exiled with it without paying its mana cost. So, with Jeleva, you want to play a lot of instant sorceries that are pretty sweet, and this pre-constructed deck is kind of broken up into 3 sort of themes. We've got Jeleva, which is instant and sorcery themes. We've got Nekusar, and we've also got Thraxmundr. There's 3 legends, so all the pre-constructed decks have 3 legends in it. And Nekusar's a new one, Thraxmundr is an old legend, and Nekusar, the Mind Razor, he's a new one, just printed for this product. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Nekusar deals 1 damage to that player. So, this guy is kind of on the Wheel of Fortune, Windfall. What is going on? Windfall, Mind, Memory Jar theme, where you want to make your opponents draw cards and they die. He got sweet art. I love this art. Reminds me of Lord of the Rings, but whatever. I like him a lot. Then we got Thraxmundr, who's on the bash your opponent, make them sacrifice creatures. So, what I've noticed from this deck is kind of broken up into 3 kind of themes where it's like instant sorceries, draw cards, and make your opponent sacrifice things. So I've kind of noticed the precons are kind of split up into 3 themes that are kind of related but not quite. So they give you a basis and they want you to pick your theme. So you can kind of plug any commander into the command zone and then just throw the other 2 into the deck, and you'll be okay. So, when I first saw Jeleva spoiled at I think it was Comic-Con, she was the one I wanted to see the most of all the 5. I mean, the Esper General was like obviously like a good general because he gains life and draws cards. The other ones were not my theme, but Jeleva, I haven't played Grixis General, so we're going to see what it does. I actually just uploaded a 4-player game against, with Jeleva, with a pre-con deck, and it was pretty sweet. You should check that out. Check my last video. So we're going to look at the deck. So, deck has this many basic islands, this many basic swamps, and slightly less basic mountains. Mountains not a big theme of the deck. We've got guild gates, bounce lands in blue-red, guild gate, bounce land. Slag heap is the charge land. Refuge, which gains life. Guild Gate. Rupture Spire. Dark Spire is pretty awkward, but it's in the deck. Opal Palace. It's a new land. It's like sort of a command tower, but not really. It's a better version of Shimmering Grotto. So you pay mana, tap this, add a mana to your mana pool of any color in your commander's color identity. If you spend this mana to cast your commander, It enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters equal to the number of times it's been cast in the command zone in this game. So for example, I cast Jeleva and I tap my Opal Palace to pay for her the first time she enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter. But I have to use the second ability. If I just use the first ability, nothing happens. It's just a colorless land. But it kind of compounds on itself, and it gives... The new Commander proc has this theme where, you get better benefits when you cast your generals additional times. Because a lot of times you just play your general, gets killed, nothing happens. You play your general, gets killed, nothing happens. So they're trying to, compensate for that. So this is in a way that happens. So far, Opal Palace, in this deck, not exciting. I would probably cut this in most decks, unless you're a Voltron Commander deck, in at least 3 colors. In 2 colors, I would not play this. I would not play this card, but in this deck, I've actually needed it as Shimmering Grotto, and it's been fine. So Crumbling Necropolis, just a 3-color land. Command Tower is always awesome. Vivid Creek and Vivid Marsh. There's no Vivid Crag. The deck is skipping on the red land. I've noticed that quite a bit, and sometimes you kind of get screwed because you need a red land. They're not there. So we got Bajuka Bog, pretty sweet that they included it. Evolving Wilds, Grixis Panorama, Temple of the False God, which is actually pretty good because you end up making almost all of your land drops in the precon. The precon is pretty good at making your land drops. It has 40 land. You can probably cut those as you alter it. And then Urza's Factory, which I've not yet activated. Not sure why it's in this deck. It's kind of weird that it's in here, but it's in here, so there it is. It's kind of off theme, off whatever, but it's a creature maker, so it's fine. Wayfarer's Bauble, which is a ramp card. Soul Ring in any commander deck, it's in there. So Nivik Guild Mage lets you loot, lets you copy spells, so he's got the Necrusar theme, and he's also the Jeleva theme, because you're drawing cards and you're copying spells. It's pretty sweet. Nightscape Familiar, fine in any deck in this color combo. Fog Bank. So Fog Bank is weird. I think you would not want to play this in Thrax if you had Thrax as your general. Necrusar, the Mind Razor, and Jeleva is fine because you want a blocker. Necrusar, you're giving your opponents answers and you're just wanting to block while you ping them out, and then same with Jeleva, you want to kind of get advantage with her effect and then block, so that he does that. Augur, Grixis decks tend to have a lot of spells, and Augur tends to get them. Vision Scan. So Vision Scans, you would want to play in a Necrusar deck. You would not want to play this in either of the other two. Jeleva will obviously get this card. You don't want to get your opponents free effects like this, but Necrusar, this effect works well because you're dealing damage to your opponents. And in 4-player decks, or 4-player games especially, it's going to do a lot. Strategic Planning, look at the top 3 cards. But one of them you're going to rest in your graveyard. It's just like an impulse sort of effect. It's fine. Swift of Boots, pretty good in Jeleva. This should probably be a Lightning Greaves. It's kind of strange they didn't have Lightning Greaves in these decks, but you'd rather have Lightning Greaves in almost all cases. In this deck, there's no way you'd want this card over Lightning Greaves because you're not really enchanting or equipping Jeleva or Necrusar or Thrax, so it's kind of strange they put this in here. Baleful Strix, so 1/1 Flying Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. So it's pretty sweet Plane Chase card they printed for Commander. He gets a card, he trades with the creature, pretty nice. Armless Sphere, get lands you need. Nice in the precons. As your mana base gets better, you can cut it. Not as necessary. So 3 drops. Nighthawk, nice way to gain life. Trade with the creature. True Name Nemesis. So this is a card. This is a card I was not fond of when I saw it spoiled because I knew it would annoy me. When he enters the battlefield, choose a player, and he has protection from the chosen player. So what does that mean? So if you play True Name Nemesis in 1v1, you choose your opponent. He cannot be enchanted, targeted, blocked or damaged by anything that opponent plays. So if I play a Blasphemous Act for 13 damage, he lives. If I play a Pyroclasm, he lives. If I try to block him, I can't. If I try to Doomblade him, I cannot. So only way to kill him is an Edict, Diabolic Edict, sacrifice a creature, Liliana sort of effect, or I Wrath of God, Supreme Verdict. Those kind of effects is the way to get rid of him. Or like Cyclonic Rift, overloaded. He's obviously insane. He's played in Legacy. He's a powerful card. He's kind of put in there because Wizards wanted him in Legacy for whatever reason. So he's there. He's in the deck, and he's like kind of the money card of the deck, along with Baleful Strix. There he is. Jason's Archivist. Like I said, this deck is split up. He's a Nekusar. You know, you're just windfalling your opponents, making them die. He's not so great in Jeleva or Thrax. You just don't want to be doing this most of the time. Better Snipe. More of the Jeleva theme. Also Nekusar, not so much Thrax. I've not been impressed with him. I'd probably just cut him, but there he is. Gargamazoa. More of the Jeleva, Nekusar, defensive theme. There he is. Echo Mage, definitely Jeleva themed. I've had some sweet times with Echo Mage. If you not watched the last video, watch it. Where I double cast Army of the Damned, making what was it, 36 tokens. So pretty sweet propaganda. More Jeleva and Nekusar. Thrax seems to kind of be the odd man out because he's not really aggressive. Most of these cards are pretty defensive, and he's not such that thing. So Curse of the Shallow Graves. So there's a curse theme here. Curse of Shallow Graves. Whenever a player, you curse an opponent. This is more of a multiplayer theme, so you kind of encourage your opponent to attack a player, and whenever they do, they get a beneficial effect. So like whenever an opponent or you attack a player, they get a 2/2 black zombie. Or they get to tap or untap a permanent of their choice. Or they get to draw and discard a card. Or discard it and then draw a card. So, the Chaos one, you would not want to play, I think, outside of Nekusar. And the other two, I would not play for the most part, really, ever, unless you want to be more of a group hug theme. So, I guess you could play these other I would say that these are Nekusar themed. You would not want to play these in the other three. Because you want to kind of draw attention away from yourself and then give your opponents a beneficial effect to not attack you. Sudden Spoiling. So this is a card that wasn't played much as I think it was a Future Sight card or of that block. I like it. There it is. Split second, so it can't be countered, it can't be reacted to. Creatures target player controls become 0/2 and lose all abilities. Good with your Pyroclasm effects. Kind of fringe play. It's a fringe effect, but it's pretty nice. Soul Manipulation. So this is pretty good in Jeleva because even when you cast it off Jeleva's effect, you can get a creature from your graveyard without having to need to counter a creature spell. So it's fine. Grixis Charm and then Gross's Charm. So they're both the Grixis colors charms, and they're both pretty good. They both have a return target permanent to its owner's hand, and then they have a destroy creature artifact, and then the -4/+2/+2. So you're usually using this to either bounce a permanent and destroy a creature or an artifact. The +2/+0, you're not making enough tokens for the most part unless you're making Army of the Damned to make it a big deal. Infest, -2/-2 of all creatures. Just be careful because your creatures can be pretty small. You don't have a lot of big creatures. Temple Bell on Nekusar card for sure, and then Obelisk, which goes into all three decks. Terror Ravager. So I think this is a commander card. So he gets +X/+0, where X is the number of lands. So he gets bigger as opponents have more lands. So it's kind of an interesting effect that they put into it. And then Spiteful Visions. This is a card from Shadowmoor, I think. And whenever player draws a card, deals 1 damage to that person, and they draw an additional card in their end step. Or beginning of the draw step, sorry. So you want to put the Nekusar deck. You really want to basically give your opponents drawing cards and making them take damage for each card they draw. Wild Ricochet. So those cards kind of awkward because if you play this in Jeleva, you're just copying spells, but if you mill this card off Jeleva's effect, you're not really getting the beneficial effect unless you attack with her, cast a spell on attack step, and then copy it with Wild Ricochet. So it's a little weird, but it can be done, I think, or something. But you're playing. If you play a heavy instant sorcery deck, this can be played. Also, it's just kind of sweet to like Wild Ricochet, Cruel Ultimatum, which happened to me today. Someone actually did it to me today. It was pretty awesome for them. Illusionist Gambit. This is a new card printed for this set. Cast this only during the declare blocker step of an opponent's turn. Whenever you cast this, remove all attacking creatures from combat and untap them. After this phase, there is an initial combat phase. So basically, if someone's like smashing you, you cast Illusionist Gambit, you remove all of them from combat, and then they have to attack someone that's not you. So you can basically force people to attack people other than you. I haven't had this being sweet, but it seemed kind of sweet and has interesting art. I would like to see it. This man's counter spell, draw a card, goes in any Grixis deck, Temple of Reflections. New card. If you have better creatures than your opponent, it's fine, but if your opponent has like Terracodons, you probably don't want to play this. Lifelink, the Nekusar theme, giving your opponents cards and making them suffer for it. And then Eye of Doom, and I've never really wanted Eye of Doom to happen unless you have really nothing. I think this would be like the supreme Jeleva deck where you just have a lot of instant sorceries and Eye of Doom is just going to own them, but otherwise they're just going to put their Eye of Doom counter on your Jeleva. It's a new card, it's a little janky, but who knows what it can do. Nomic Wall, get back into sorceries. Hooded Horror. Another card, if they have a lot of lands, it's pretty good. Or creatures, sorry. Diviner Spirit, new card. So when he deals common damage, you and that player draw that many cards. If you do 2 damage with him, you draw 2 cards, and that opponent draws 2 cards. It's kind of like a weird group hug deck. Excuse me. Put in a Nekusar deck, don't play another deck. It's kind of a group hug theme. And then Arcane Elite. Instant and sorcery spells cost 2 less to cast. I think this also makes your opponent's instant and sorcery spells cost 2 less. I would avoid this card. It's expensive and it helps your opponents. Annihilate. Destroy target non-black creature. Can't be regenerated. Draw a card. So it's pretty sweet. You kill a creature, draw a card. How can you not like that? Well, it's non-black. A lot of people do play black creatures, so just keep that in mind. Incendiary Command. This is no cryptic command, but it's still a good card. Deal 4 damage to a player. You have to choose 2 of these effects. It deals 2 damage to each creature, destroy target non-basic land, or each player discards all the cards in his or her hand and then draws a many cards. So you can get back. You have to like Windfall, Pyroclasm, 4 damage opponent, or destroy non-basic land. Usually what I've noticed is you're Pyroclasming and destroying a land, or you're going to hit an opponent and Pyroclasm. That tends to happen. You can kind of go into all the 4 decks. Fissure Vent. This card's actually a lot better than I first thought. Because 5 mana to destroy an artifact or a non-basic land, not so great. When you're doing both, it's actually not that bad because people don't really expect it. And like killing somebody's like bounce land or their crucial non-basic land and then killing their Soul Ring or something is pretty nice. It's more powerful than I thought. I think this card can go a lot more of the budgetish deck, and I would play this. So there it is, Mirari. You want to play this in a heavy instant sorcery deck, so there goes the level. You get to copy an instant or sorcery spell for 3. I've actually never gotten this off yet. I played probably like 15 games of this deck. Never had Mirari go off. Uyo. So yo, get to copy more spells, but you have to return 2 lands and play for them. So this card is pretty expensive. Not so sure this is what you want in this deck. I get the theme, but her effect is pretty expensive and not so exciting. Charmbreaker Devils, pretty nice. You get to recur an instant or sorcery from your graveyard every turn, and then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, it gets +4/+0. So, I mean, this card's pretty powerful. Not played a ton, but if this thing getting unblocked, you can do a lot of damage and an opportunity to draw 4 cards. Art is terrible, but the card is awesome. Price of Knowledge, a new commander card. Players have no maximum hand size in enchantment. Being each opponent's upkeep, Price of Knowledge deals damage to that player. Equals the number of cards in their hand. So, it's a Nekusar effect where you're basically giving them cards and killing them for it. Phthisis, destroy target creature. Its controller loses life equal to that power. Its power plus toughness. So, if you hit a 5/5, they lose 10 life and you kill the creature. Even if the creature is indestructible, they will still lose 10 life. So if you hit an Absent and Angel of Hope, they will take 16 damage from this card. So this card's pretty sweet and it has Suspend. I like it a lot. Cruel Ultimatum. Target opponent sacrifices a creature, discards 3 cards, loses 5 life. You return a creature from your graveyard to your hand, draw 3 cards and gain 5 life. So Cruel Ultimatum is a pretty ultimate card, as the name suggests, and it's pretty nice. Don't get this forked against you because that kind of sucks. And the color commitment is pretty heavy, so you need to hit your land drops on color without colorless commitments. Even then, though, it's nice. It's nice off Jeleva. If you hit this off Jeleva, people just tend to quit. I've noticed with Jeleva, if you hit nice spells off her first hit, people will just quit. The thing with Jeleva is she's a 1/3. Even if you hit a good spell or two, you're not killing your opponent anytime soon. Like, you're just hitting with a 1/3. You're not even. I'm not putting swords on her. I'm not putting Lockstone Warhammer. Even if I hit like a spell or two, you're just pinging your opponent, and just people just don't want to see it. And it's kind of strange because most other decks have a much faster clock than Jeleva, and Jeleva needs a lot of work, needs a lot of help. Jeleva needs your deck to be tailored to her, and you kind of have to gimp yourself in order to make Jeleva playable. It's been weird. Today I played a lot of decks. You would just play Jeleva, you would hit like Bribery, Cryptic Command, Sleep, and they'd be like, oh, good game, and they would quit. I'm like, really? Like, I played a 1/3. Like, don't you have something in your deck that can answer this? Like, not kind of fun. I can understand, like, when your opponent plays Great Arbiter into Baneslayer plus Sun Titan. Like, oh, well, this is kind of incapable of being answered, but I don't know. Kind of weird. You want to play Jeleva, but they just don't play it out. So, Baleful Force, new deck from Commander, a new card, I'm sorry. Beginning of your each upkeep, you draw a card and lose 1 life. So, you're playing a 4-player game, you draw 4 cards, basically a cycle, and that's pretty awesome. But you do lose life each turn, so be careful. Be careful in any deck, especially when you have Spiteful Visions out, because you're going to lose extra life. Decree of Pain, new art. Destroy creatures that can be regenerated. Draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. Goes in all 3 of the general decks. Cycle it for 3 black. All creatures get -2/-2. Pretty nice cycling ability, and then you get instant speed. And then Army of the Damned. Oh my gosh, this card is the ultimate Jeleva hit. If you have this with Echo Mage or any kind of copy effect, Army of the Damned is insane. If you can get this off, I love it. I mean, if you tend to put like a Warstorm Scourges in your deck, obviously this card gets much better, but try to play this card in any of these decks if you can. It's underrated card and it's hard to deal with unless they Wrath. Starstorm, Wrath effect, cycles. You're going to need this effect if you play pretty much Jeleva, Nekusar, maybe not so much with Thrax, but you're going to need this effect. Skyscribing, it's a Nekusar ability. Same with Prosperity, and then Molten Disaster goes in any of them. So there's the deck that's talked a lot. I will try to play some more with the stock deck, and then I'll upgrade my deck a little bit more, so you can see those decks shortly. Post a comment below if you have any comments, concerns, or whatnot, but, you know, there they are. I'm going to try and make Nekusar deck themed after I make Jeleva, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time. Sorry for talking so long.